Ready for this, Mr. Wes Tankersley?
Let's do it.
This is Hard Parking, brought to you by Right Honda and Right Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm your host, Jhae Pfenning. Joining me in a few moments, he is the co-host of Two Nobodies Who Know Nothing. He is the host of Shaping Success, Treasure Valley. And most importantly for this call, he is my co-host for One Drink Wednesday. He is Wes Tankersley. Wes, welcome back to the podcast, man.
What's happening, dude? I feel like I was telling you earlier, I feel like I'm out of place. So I'm gonna drink some of this maple bourbon because I feel like when we're doing One Drink Wednesday, we have to pour something. And I know you got like a full glass of vodka, so have fun with that.
No, just for the record, let the record show that I'm drinking ice water or water. There's no ice in it.
Yep. I can't believe you're drinking it with no ice. What the hell?
Because unlike you, Wes, I'm not an alcoholic.
Cheers, Jay.
Yeah. Cheers. So yeah, I begged you to come back onto the show. I know that usually when you're on here, it's a huge ratings plunge, but I figure at this point I can't get any worse than I've been doing lately. And so, I mean, you look like $1 million, you look famous, and so maybe that'll help boost the algorithm. But we talk about One Drink Wednesday all the time, or I talk about it. You hear it on the closing of every episode, and I figured, hell, why not get you on here and let's talk about the shit we talk about, and let's talk about what you have going on and your Two Nobodies Who Know Nothing, which it's not new. You guys have been doing it now for a while, but yeah. I've told you on a few occasions, I think it's a really excellent thing to listen to when I'm driving around. So tell us about Two Nobodies Who Know Nothing.
Well, sad thing is, I think you prefer that over just my regular podcast, which is, that kind of makes me want to cry. But Robert Watson was a guy that I interviewed and I met on TikTok at one point, and he's a baby boomer, right? And I'm Gen X, and it's cool because we get to talk about all this different stuff. We started out like going through his book. He has a book called Ars Victorious, and we went through chapter by chapter because shaping success is really about like motivation, right? So all these chapters that he had were all these lessons that he learned in life and all the things that he was doing. And it was just one of those things where we started going through that and then naturally just progressed into other things. So we talk a lot about it's not a political podcast, but we do talk a lot about what's going on. Like this morning, We were talking about the Strait of Hormuz and those types of things because he was former military intelligence. So he was an analyst, and what he does is he still does it, even though he doesn't work for anyone. But he'll go through and he'll analyze a situation, and then he would give hey, President Trump, this is what you got to do. Hey, President Biden, this is what you got to do. Or this is what I would see could happen from these two different scenarios. Now you pick and choose what you're going to want to do. And so someone called us at one point. We were talking about something, and I can't remember what it was. It wasn't even very political, but they said, oh, look, it's two nobodies who know nothing. And not that degrees make you a man or make you smart, but you're saying that with like people there's 5 degrees right here, and we are nobody. But we look at things factually, kind of like you and I have these conversations all the time, like what's really going on. And we think with the facts, not our feelings, which is a real hard thing to do these days.
Hey, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this conversation I'm having with Wes Tankersley. I forgot to mention in the opening that this Sunday is the Copper State 1000. If you recall, recently I had Desi Alizetta, the current chair of the Men's Art Council. And so the Copper State 1000 will be held at Tempe Diablo Stadium. As a reminder, again, it is this Sunday, April 12th. Also, congratulations to the University of Michigan Wolverines men's basketball team, first national championship in something like 30-some years. We'll get back to the conversation with Wes right after this word from SparkForge. If you run a business and you're tired of juggling tools, chasing logins, and constantly feeling like the tech side of things is heavier than it should be, this might hit close to home. That tech fatigue usually shows up as an outdated website, reviews slipping through the cracks, missed calls when you're busy, or social media that's always on the back burner. Most business owners know something's off, but fixing it feels like a bigger project than they have time for. SparkForge exists to take that weight off. It handles the tech behind the scenes, helps clean up how your business shows up online, makes sure calls and messages don't get mixed, keeps reviews from slipping through the cracks, and wrangles social marketing so you don't disappear for weeks. If you're curious, there's a short discovery session, and it comes with 90 days free to actually see if it makes things easier. No pitch, no pressure, just a real conversation about what's working, what's broken, and what you can simplify. So head over to getsparkforge.ai/hard parking to get started. What do you mean by that, Wes?
Oh, you know what I mean. I mean, it's crazy. It's like people do not like, you look at the political things that are going on right now, right? Orange man bad. So if Orange man says something, everyone else is going to do not everyone, but like 50% of the population is like, nope, not going to do it. And you watch the right, and they just do the opposite. Whether it's right or wrong, they do the opposite.
The left, you mean?
The left, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's whatever he says is wrong, and we're not going to do it. So if he says that breathing air is good, they're going to stop breathing. I mean, it's kind of that. It's not that bad, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's a lot of memes out there, and I think they all started in 2020, right? When it comes to injecting yourself with bleach. And then there's a segment of the population you got the crazies, right? So that's the danger, I guess, is if you say something like that, there's going to be a subset of idiots out there who actually do it because they don't understand. That doesn't mean you shouldn't say it. But there's also people who are going to say, oh my God, I can't believe this person said that. What kind of a leader, blah, blah, blah. And so, no, I get it. And I wouldn't say it's left or right. It's just when people are so convicted in their feelings about something, then they're void of hearing any discussions or conversations with any factual or new information, right? There's cars. It's a weird car reference, right? But there's cars I just haven't liked. And once you learn a little bit more about the car and what makes it special, that's new information. And then you can say, okay, well, it's a cool car. It's not for me, but I can definitely see why people have the appeal for that car. But there's other people who say, I don't give a fuck what you say about that car. It's a piece of shit, and I'm never going to look at it. And it's like, dude, I'm just giving you some very objective information, some tracking factual information about this, and you can still feel the way you feel. Just know that that's how you feel. That's not how it is. And so, I think you're 100% on point with that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like here in Boise, just a kind of an idea of what's going on around here. It's like last year they passed a bill where they banned anything but the American flag or the state flag being up on, or the city flag or whatever being up on a flagpole. So like if it wasn't tied to anything, then
now hold on. So it's a government though, right? It's like it's got to be on like a municipality, like the courthouse versus J Tuck's Chevrolet.
Yeah, well, and what happened was it came down to the fact that the mayor of Boise, like they'd have pride flags everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And so the mayor of Boise decided that when they passed this ban, there was a loophole. So she made the city flag the pride flag, and then she put it up. And then now the pride flag, the Boise flag is the pride flag, which is crazy to me because, like, if you think about it, you're representing a very small part of the population of Boise, right? But this is what she did to prove a point that she could do it. And then this year, they're like, oh, well, now we're going to pass the bill a little bit differently, so you have to take it down. So they take it down the other day, and there's this big old story that just because we're taking this down doesn't mean that we don't invite everyone to come to our city. And it was like, okay, no one was saying that you weren't inviting everyone.
No one ever said
city.
That to begin with. You put the target on your back by being like, hey, guys.
Yep, exactly. And I don't have anything wrong with the pride flag, but I don't think that it should be on a freaking city flagpole. This is the representation of the city when you don't represent everyone in the city with that. The United States flag represents our country, and it's become something that is so polarized, right? That it's like, you're a racist if you like the American flag. And, I've got the American flag tattooed on my chest and my arm. So I guess I'm,
explains a lot.
racist.
You're racist son of a bitch.
Yeah. My best friend.
So which is it, Wes? Are you racist or are you gay?
I'm also a bigot. I don't know if you know that, but, and we all get called, like, when that's the problem, right? So now I don't agree with you. Now I'm a racist. Now I'm a bigot. Now I'm a Nazi. Now I'm this. Now I'm that. And it's like, that's not it. We're just people. And it's insane to me that, Adam Carolla talks about it all the time, right? I'm not saying that racism would go away if we stop talking about it, but if we sit there and we point out that every single thing that we do is racist, what are people going to start thinking? Like, we're just a terrible country. We're terrible people. We can't say anything because we're all racist. We're all bigots. We're all Nazis, you know?
How the hell does the mayor get away with changing the flag?
Well,
That
it
doesn't
was
even
weird.
make any sense to me, right? Because was it just for a month? But you said they just changed the flag. I get how
Well,
the city
what they
council, like the people
basically,
voted on it. Was it like Prop 436 and everyone voted yes?
it was weird. There was a city council, and I don't live in Boise, but I know about it because,
Mm-hmm.
this is happening. And like my wife and I, we were married in June, which is Pride Month, right? And so every once in a while, we'll go have a staycation downtown Boise, and like we're rolling around, and like there are pride flags everywhere, like on every corner. And it's like this whole big deal that they want to have this whole month with it. And I think what happened was so many people were like, why don't we have a straight flag? Why don't we have this? What, like once you start doing that,
Yeah.
it becomes, why do we have this for just this one group, but we don't have that? And they can't even, I mean, Basque is a big thing here too. Like there's a lot of
Oh
Basque
yeah.
people here. And
Yep.
so they can't really hang up a Basque flag anymore either. So it wasn't just the pride flag, but that's what they're honing in on. They just don't want you putting something other than the state flag or the American flag on a flagpole, you know?
So the Basque thing is, I'm curious with that because it was a couple blocks, right? You have like the Basque district,
Basque Quarter, yeah, is what they
Basque
call it.
Quarter. So why can't can the Basque Quarter have the Basque flags up? I mean, it's like going to Chinatown and seeing the China stuff, and it's like going to I don't know, the gay parts of every major U.S. city, and there's usually one or two blocks that are dedicated to Pride and like 24/7. And that's fine because you know where you're at, right? You know that's a district, and that's always a big tourist destination for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, when we went to Puerto Vallarta, we were in basically the gay district the whole time, and these flags were everywhere, the trans flags and then the regular flag. There's like, I don't know, 12 different flags. I had no idea. Um, but I agree.
Well, the
I
thing,
don't think they have any business being on like federal or state or municipality. Just like you're not going to hang your favorite school's flag anywhere
right.
up is on the school, right? The school flag should be uh the state flag, the American flag, and the school flag, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And I
having
think
pride flags
that's,
everywhere, it's just I'm not for it, and that doesn't make me homophobic by any means.
no, the big thing is though, is they banned it from being on the municipalities, like you said. You can still have it on your house. You can do whatever you want. It just,
Okay, yeah,
that's the problem. It's like you're sitting there saying that we're not inclusive, right? And that's not the case. The case is why are we putting this flag up for a small percentage of the whole city, the whole state or whatever. And they did it out of spite because they told them they couldn't do it. That was the problem. And so it was just weird. Like it's funny last week when it passed, I just saw that and I'm just like, you got to be kidding. But it's those types of things that, drive me insane. As a PE teacher, I had a friend, I have a friend, Matt Todd, who's been on my podcast a couple times.
it's because you're a
He was,
bigot, Wes.
yeah, right. Because I'm a bigot.
You're a gay bigot Nazi.
I'm a homophobe.
Yeah,
But it was funny
not the
because they were
phobe.
talking.
Drop the phobe, Wes. Drop the phobe.
Yeah.
You're just a.
Homo.
Oh wait, Matt Todd.
Anyway, Matt Todd. I really enjoy Matt because he's talking to all these people in our state at the local level.
Yeah.
And he was talking to someone who is a representative for the state, and she was talking about PE and how he asked her a question like, what is the problem? How do you feel about women having transgender males coming into a women's space? And are you concerned that something could happen to you? And she's like, he goes, because I'm concerned for my kids and this and that. And she's like, well, why are you concerned for me? I need to be concerned for myself. And if I don't have a problem with it, you shouldn't have a problem with it. And he's like, well, you have guys walking in all out into a girl's locker room. If that happened with my daughter, I would be pissed. Like, how is this okay? And she says, well, what we need to do is we just need to do away with PE. Why do we even need PE? Why do you need to dress down? And I was just like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
This is not the answer. And then he asked her, it was funny because he asked her if she had played any sports in high school. And she's like, or if she lettered in anything. And she's like, no, I didn't play any sports, but I did get a letter in debate. I was just like, so you have no clue what it's like to play a sport. You have no clue what it's like you probably took those 2 PE classes that were required so that you could get your diploma, but you saw no value in it. and you've never really looked at the value of physical education. And I have a that's hard for me because I love
You have a
PE and
degree.
yeah, and I taught it.
Uh, I think that you don't have to be able to letter in anything. I think it's kind of common sense, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
just have to be a parent. You just have to be a normal person because I can guarantee you there's a ton of liberal women who do not want some dude going in or some dude who identifies as a woman going into the restroom with them or their daughters at any given time, nor do they want them playing sports with their girls. So for someone to not understand how that's a problem, there's a lot of,
yeah.
even beyond the sexual predatorness of it, because believe me, we know there's a lot of sexual, it is a disease in the world right now. It's
I don't,
probably always
I
been a
don't,
disease in the world.
I don't know why it's got to be so hard. I mean, I think it's pretty simple. I mean, all we have to do is just put a picture of what you got on the wall, and this is where you go. I mean, it's pretty
Junk,
simple.
no junk, junk to the
Yep.
right, no junk to the left, junk to the
Right.
right, trunk to the left. Like what, you
Yeah.
know? Um,
Dong over here, no dong over there. I mean, it's not that
yeah,
hard. It's like, who cares?
dong with the
Now,
wind.
yeah, right.
That's the next movie that's coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how it's controversial, and it blows my mind. Um, I just maybe it just goes back to the beginning, but two nobodies who know nothing. So Robert Watson, he brings these conversations, and these are the type of stuff you guys talk about. He
Yeah.
pretty much puts in a little more better information than I do during this call, of course. But I just find it
He does
fascinating
the,
because you both share these great stories.
yeah, he does the research. Like, I mean, it's honest, literally like what Robert and I do is Monday morning at 5 o'clock my time, 6 o'clock his time. I turn the damn thing on and we just, hey, what's going on, Robert? And then we talk about some study that he read or something that I had going on or something that was, and we just have a conversation about it. It's like, this is how these two nobodies feel about something because, and it's interesting because, we're, like I said, we're 20 years apart. And so he's grown up in a different scenario than I have and been through different things, but we've also had some pretty cool things in common as well. So it's a
I
fun
think
conversation.
I think one of the things that makes it so good is that he's so careful too, right? He's still a professional, and you're obviously careful and a professional as well. But I just find it hard for someone to watch that and be upset about stuff you guys are talking about. And the only thing I could come away with each time I listen is if people are listening to that and they feel strongly against whatever it is you guys are talking about, because you're right, it's not always politics.
Yeah.
Then it's emotional, and it's the cliche facts over feelings, right? And I feel like for someone to, as I say, I feel, you
Facts
know,
over feelings.
for someone listening to that and come away with any level of anger and say, hey, you guys are two nobodies who know nothing. And I think even one time Brian and I were talking about something on my podcast, and that was kind of one of the comments as well. Like, stick to cars, and you guys don't know shit about anything that you're talking about. And I'm like, well, yeah, and we have opinions, and our opinions are pretty valid, whether you agree or disagree with them. I just think that there's just so many people out there. I read a comment to you earlier on
Mhm.
my freaking reaction, my movie reaction channel from a thing I said about Magneto and Professor X, and this dude became so unhinged about something that I had said
Right.
on the short, which is designed to obviously, smoke people like him out of their caves or their mother's basement and get them to interact. And that's basically what I said. I was like, yeah, good job. I say this to smoke you out of your basement, you fucking retard, and I usually don't use
You're
that kind of a language, but the way that guy was coming at me, like, what kind of a nerd idiot fool are you? Like, if you don't like what people are saying, I gave my opinion on Professor X you know, and Magneto, and it wasn't even controversial.
That's the thing, though. It's like your response to that. Like when you said that, I just laughed out loud. You couldn't hear me laughing, but I was laughing pretty good about it because that's what those clips are for, right? And it's funny. I just let Opus. I know we both use Opus. I just let Opus do it. Like I let it do whatever it wants to do, and then Nikki posts it for me. And this guy went off on me about something that I said about Charlie Kirk and Renee Good. Like they're comparing the two, but then
Mm-hmm.
it's the comparison is when it's convenient, but when it's not, it's not. It's like everyone's saying good riddance to Charlie Kirk, but those same people who said good riddance to Charlie Kirk are saying, "Oh my gosh, how dare you? This poor lady, this mother of two that was a lesbian, that was this, that was that, blah, 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 just murdered in cold blood or whatever. But good riddance to Charlie Kirk. And I said, they're not the same thing.
They don't even
And
say
you
she
can,
was a lesbian. They just say she was a mother.
right. They don't tell you that stuff. But,
Yeah.
and like you said, like when we were looking at it before, and this is the thing with you, like you, out of everyone that I know, dissect things to the ninth degree. Like you are going through it over and over again before you even talk about it. You've thought about 9 different sides of every single angle. And we're talking about it. And I'm like, well, what about this? And then you're like, well, what about that? And then people think that you're just talking, like, oh, you're just
Yeah.
saying what you're saying. But I had a guy who basically told me that I was going to lose my job. And then he went through all of it, the racist, the bigot, the Nazi. Charlie Kirk was a racist, bigot, Nazi. I'm a racist, bigot, Nazi. I'm going to lose my job. Good luck finding one, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And it was funny because I just chuckled every time I saw his response. And then I would go through and I'd respond to him back with something else until he finally stopped. And that was what I was
Yeah.
waiting for. I'm like, I'm not stopping until you stop. And I'm just going to, whatever, dude. They all go to name calling, whatever they believe.
I think, to be fair, and you'll agree with this, it's also the same people who say that Charlie Kirk was a martyr and he was murdered doing what he believed in are the same people, a lot of the same people who say Renee Good deserved what she got.
Yeah.
I don't, it's neither one of us are those people. We see the positive and I wouldn't say negative, but the tragedy in every one of these situations. But the difference is we're able to see both sides and not to overuse the whole both sides this and both sides that, because, I want to throw a chair to the wall every time I hear someone say both sides this and both sides that. But I would say not both sides of the people, both sides of the action.
Yeah.
And then when I say that, do I think that Good deserved what she got? No. Do I understand why it happened given the situation? Yeah, I could understand how somebody would think that maybe their life was in danger, regardless if they got hit months prior. I can see how an officer would think that when the wheel is spinning, and then it ends up the car lunges forward. I mean, it was a poor decision, in my opinion, on her part, and it was a poor decision for the officer to have pulled the trigger. But
That's
I
the thing, like,
understand why he pulled the trigger. I don't understand why she drove forward. You know what I mean? So it's like both of those things are shitty. And just like Alex Pretti, like, yeah, he shouldn't have been there. And I wouldn't say he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He wanted to be there. He put himself in a situation. And I think what happened to him was very unfortunate, but I understand how it happened. Not that he deserved it, but when a gunshot goes off and everybody's panicking and you think that he's the one who pulled the trigger, because why else would anybody else standing around have pulled the trigger? Right. So you guys unload in on him. It's a tragedy. He should probably be alive today, but I'm not justifying and you're not justifying. We're saying this is why this happened and we understood why it happened and it's fucked up, but I'm not going to go outside and start picketing or screaming to the top of my lungs because I can see how both situations degraded to where they are.
Yeah, and I think the thing that you and I have talked about quite a bit is the fact that these things could have been avoided, right? I don't necessarily know how Charlie could have avoided it other than having he could have avoided it by not being there, right? Like he could have not done it. He could have
to debate behind a plexiglass wall like a president. That's it. But then why go to a college campus and do it?
Yeah, exactly. And Good, the thing to me was, listen, an officer, and this is how I feel about if an officer pulls me over, I'm coming at that officer with respect, whether I was right or wrong. But I'm to the point where it's like, I get pulled over, I put my hands on the wheel. If he told me to stop, I'm going to stop. And she could have been alive today if she would have just got out of the car when he asked. And that's the problem is like, Kirk didn't have that option. He was just sitting there and someone shot him. Yeah. She had the option to live. He did not. And I don't know. I can't see how common sense doesn't come into play there. It just doesn't make any sense to me, but this is where we are.
Well, you think about life, right? And it's like when you're punishing your kids or when you're growing up and something happens in school, it's like, okay, well, how did we get here? Like, what was the root cause? What could have prevented this? And, I work in the hospital system. I've worked in the hospital system since 2008.
Yep.
in an IT capacity, but I was also an imaging manager, second shift for 4 years, and we would fill out incident reports all the time. And it's called RCA report, root cause analysis. And so what happens is you have to identify, and we would do what's called patient rounding too, and floor rounding. When you go around, you ask the nurses and the patients and all this kind of stuff. But what you do is you identify multiple times before the incident happened, flags. Okay, this was an opportunity. This was our first opportunity to escalate. This is the next thing that happened that should have been stopped, but it wouldn't stop the first time, nor was it stopped the second time. So you get to the third flag. Next thing you know, there's 4 or 5 checkpoints of failure along the way that led up to the ultimate event, right?
Right.
And so that's kind of how my brain processes this stuff too. It's like, okay, how did we get here?
Mm-hmm.
How did we get to the point where these anti-ICE protesters were out there? What got them to that point? Because at that time, it wasn't Renee Good and Alex Pretti, because, before Renee, nothing, right? But once that happened, how did we get to the point of her, unfortunately, getting blasted on and losing her life? And what could have been prevented? That's what root cause analysis, the whole purpose of root cause analysis is how could we have prevented this?
Right.
And it's not a preventative a preventative step. It's something like, how can we make sure it's reactive, not proactive? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And so, some people just don't have the ability to analyze and break down. And those are some of the same people who just lose their shit, regardless of what happens and who it happens to.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like we've been talking about this. People will sit there and they'll rip you for saying facts over feelings, but the fact of the matter is like, look at what you should do. Look at what we talked about. I've talked about gun safety on my podcast before, and we were talking about how when you get pulled over, like I took a concealed weapons class to get my concealed weapons license. And when I'm sitting in there, the guy who is teaching this class is a sheriff, right? And so he's telling me, and he's a sheriff, how he would prefer to be notified that you have a gun. And his thoughts are, okay, I pull you over. The first thing that you need to do is you need to put your hands on the steering wheel, roll down the window, and wait for me to come talk to you. When I get there and I ask for your license and registration, you say, hey, is it okay if I get it? It's in the glove box, or it's in my pocket. I'm reaching for it. Then hand him both your concealed weapons permit and your driver's license at the same time, so that he knows that you could be carrying, so that he's not freaking out thinking that you got a gun. And then he may ask you, hey, do you have a gun? Yes, I do. It's under the seat. I'm not going to get it. I just want you to know that you have it. The fact of the matter is those guys are on high alert because they don't know what's going to happen, right? They don't know who they're pulling over. They could be pulling over someone who's high on meth and going crazy and not even know it. And the guy pulls over, and then the first thing he does is reach for his gun and pop you, And to me, it's like, oh, well, we shouldn't. One of the comments that I got on that is, oh, we shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to say shit. You don't have to tell them nothing. And it's like, I don't have to tell them nothing. You're right. But I would way rather do it knowing that I'm going to be more protected if I tell him what's going on, so that he is feeling safe and he knows how to react if I do something.
I think a lot of it depends on where you're at too, right? Because I think about all the times in my life I've been pulled over, which isn't a lot, but I do remember pretty much every time. And usually there's 2 officers. Mm-hmm. There's one that comes up to the driver's side, and there's always a trailer that kind of comes up with the passenger side. And the trailer that comes with the passenger side is, for lack of a better term, the spotter, right? They want to see what the driver's doing. It's funny. I got pulled over once. I think it was in 99 or 2000. And my passenger stuck his arms out the window, and the police officer walked up. He's like, dude, what are you doing? Because he was always told that when you get pulled over, stick your hands out so they can see your hands so that you're not a threat. And so, it's kind of funny because it's almost exactly opposite of what the sheriff was saying to you guys.
Yeah.
But, keep your cool, right? But I mean, in any event, neither one of these 2 incidents that we talked about would really bear that situation. For one person, they were just already fed up and it was too late. And the other person, it was just a weird fucking sequence of events. Let's talk about One Drink Wednesday.
Yeah.
This is the thing that everyone's like, hey, I watch your podcast. I watch you and Wes do that podcast. It's like, no, we don't watch us do anything because we don't we don't have a lot of people on there. We have some very faithful, fun people that we both love and happy that they're on there with us. But it's not a podcast. It's Instagram Live, right? Until we get that Instagram to 1,000 followers, they usually go live first, and then I join you from that page.
Right. Because that's the only way to do it, and we got, like you said, we got some crazy people. Like when I pulled up this Vermont maple bourbon, Anna sent this bottle to me. So regulars, like we have the regulars, we've always talked about it. We've been doing this for 4 or 5 years now. And it's like,
Jeez,
we got the regulars at the bar, right? And we have some people who've been there from the very beginning that are still there every day. Steven and Turkey have been there since the beginning. And those are people that will come on and they'll hop on and they'll listen to us talk about what we're doing. But for me, I enjoy doing it. You and I just came up with this idea at one point. Hey, let's just do a live. We need to do something together. And I think we need to, personally, like I feel like we're going to have to figure out a way to get guests back on, because I think that was one of the things that we did a lot more in the past. But we've had people on like Mitchell Bailey from Smile Spirits and Trust Me Vodka. And then we had Andy Koenig on from Koenig Distillery. And we had a couple Whistle Pig. I can't remember her name. Whistle Pig.
Yeah, we had the girl on from Whistle Pig. I think that's the challenge is we're not hosting it from the page yet.
Right.
But we'll get back to that soon.
Yeah, and what we have to do is, so like if you're watching the podcast right now, if you're listening to this, whatever you're doing, just make sure you go follow at One Drink Wednesday on Instagram, and then show up, come hang out, come have a good time, because we do some pretty cool things. The first 20 minutes are me and Jay bullshitting about what's going on in our life, but it's pretty entertaining. And then we go into Rotten Tomatoes and we play a movie game, like guess the score of the movie game, and we give away stuff.
I would say we're bullshitting about what's going on in our lives, but even in that 20 minutes, we're talking about stuff that's going on, period, so that the people who are watching often join in on the conversation. Mm-hmm. And it's my initiative to try, if I can remember, to start each episode with today is national. And usually there's like six of them, and I try to choose the best one. Some of them are pretty stupid, right?
Yeah. See, I forgot to talk about it just now again. You're like,
like today's National Cupcake Day. Wes, what's your favorite cupcake? And then everybody tells us what their favorite cupcake is.
Right.
But we get in a lot of really fun conversations, and then even with our regulars, and then they start their little side conversations in the chat, which is always fun. Or you'll be talking to one, and I'll be talking to the other one, and we're supposed to be talking to each other. That's always fun.
Yeah, and then Jay calls me out on a lot of shit. Hey, you should have pinned that comment, you jackass. Or, you
got to pin the comments, man. The comments are gold. Someone says something, slick. And, sometimes we just miss them, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interactive and it's very fun to do. And like you said, it's not a podcast. Everyone thinks it's a damn podcast, but it's a live that we do. And you can't listen to it anywhere because, like, in my mind, and this has changed over time, right? Like, we're all talking about a podcast is just an audio thing, but I mean, you're shifting to video. I've always done video with mine, but I've also always done audio, and I've always pushed the audio more than I push the video. And it's just, it's a fun time. Video is good because we can see how we actually really feel about it by looking at your face and seeing the inflection in your voice and that type of thing.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is people are like, well, I don't drink, or it's like, you don't have half the people who join us aren't actually drinking anything other than maybe water or an iced tea. Some people are actually joining us from work for 5 or 10 minutes while they're on break. And then there's always maybe half of them that are drinking something along with us. And we ask them, what are you drinking? And then, we haven't done show and tell in a while, but we invite people to go live with us and show us what they got going on, what they're working on. Their liquor collection, their gun collection, whatever, they're welding, like Emilio. And then, they jump on, show us, and they jump off. And so, I wanted to get you on here to kind of talk about One Drink Wednesday and Two Nobodies Who Know Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because I think that a lot of people just need to know who we are and know that we're just two regular dudes. That's really what it is. And we're having a good time. It's a virtual bar. Jay lives in Arizona. I live in Idaho. And it's like one of those ways that, this is the first year I feel like I haven't been down there to do one in the studio. And I gotta do it here because that's been kind of what it was the last couple of years. Is like, I'm down there. Let's go sit down and do a podcast. And it's been a trying year, but it's getting better and we're on the up and up. And hope to be on the other end of that shit here soon.
All right, Wes, let me let you bounce, get on with the rest of this, and I will see you on One Drink Wednesday, and I will talk to you like I normally talk to you on our little, is it Signal we use or Telegram?
Telegram.
Telegram, yep. We just have every once in a while I'll pull it over to Instagram or pull it over to just regular voice chat, depending on what I'm doing.
When you're sending me a reel or something.
All right, well, cheers, buddy.
Yep, all gone. We'll see ya. Peace.
Later. I want to thank Wes Tankersley for jumping on the show kind of at the last minute. I just kind of thought it was time to have him back on the podcast. And hopefully you guys can join us on One Drink Wednesday on Instagram. That is at 7 o'clock Pacific time. And we usually grab a drink and talk about current events and chop it up with some of our good friends and do a bunch of movie trivia and have a lot of fun with it. I want to thank Right Honda, Right Toyota, Spark Forge, AI from Marcus Foundry, Right Auto Cannon, officially licensed Honda and Acura gear. Of course, Patreon business supporters, Kuya Automotive out of Winter Garden, Florida, Automotive Specialty Tool out of Owings Mills, Maryland, the Lucky Breaks Sports Breakers out of Caledonia, Michigan, Big House Small Home Design out of Ashburn, Virginia, and Caledonia, Michigan. And of course, last but not least, the aforementioned Wes Tankersley of Shaving Success, Treasure Valley. Also want to thank Mark Stoneman, Catherine Cox, Eddie Ramos, Richard Graves, Byron Jones, Bo Jung, Alice Camina, Drew Bunkley, and Dre Mullins for all being my Patreon financial supporters. If you want to do the same, you can go to Patreon, Hard Parking Podcast, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you could just buy me a coffee or become a member at the bottom. It's like $3 a month. It makes me feel better about myself. Questions, comments, or concerns, email the show info@hardparking.com. A lot of events coming up. I will talk to you guys next week.
Shut up!